Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. In this video, I will talk about how to analyze a unit in a course book to decide if it needs any adaptation, if it is in line with the curriculum or not. In the previous videos, most probably you'll remember that I have covered curriculum and syllabus, what they are, and what kind of curriculum we have in our country. And I have also covered Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. And I have already mentioned that the national curriculum has implemented the principles of CEFR. And you can easily find the curriculum on the website by the Board of Education, Ministry of Education on internet. Just to give you an example, I have chosen grade 7, unit 2, with the title Sports as an example. Before we start analyzing the unit, let's have a quick look at the syllabus from the ministry's website. Here you see the 7th grade, unit 2, outline. Okay? As you can see, there are 4 columns in this figure. The first one is for unit or theme. The title is mentioned over there. The second column is functions and useful language. The third one is language skills and learning outcomes. And the last one is the suggested contexts, tasks, and assignments. In this unit, there are 2 main functions, and they are shown in red boxes. The first one is talking about routines and daily activities, and the second one is describing what people do regularly, giving explanations and reasons. The sentences, clauses, and phrases are given as an example of expected structures to be used, and they are shown in green boxes in the figure. And then you can see the vocabulary list, which displays what students need to learn or revise in this lesson. And these are shown in the blue box. In the second column, you see the skills and learning outcomes which help coursebook writers, authors, to design their units, design their activities and tasks, and for testers and examiners to prepare exam questions for this grade. The items in the last column give a general idea of what kind of texts and contexts can be used in the coursebook, what kind of tasks can be assigned, and what assignments should be given or can be given. Let's have a look at the book I have chosen for this video. Here you see the inner cover page of the book. And here you see the editor and the people who have contributed to the preparation or writing of this coursebook. Now, the unit is titled as Sports. The unit title or theme matches the one given in the syllabus. As you can see, it says sports. The first activity is a kind of a warm-up activity. And the aim of this activity to help students recall what they have learned before. similar topics and similar functions have been covered before in the 4th grade, Unit 4, and 5th grade, Units 3 and 8. The 2nd and 3rd activities are other warm-up activities, and they involve guessing and listening to check the answers. The students listening to check their answers. The 4th and 5th activities look more like vocabulary teaching activities as they focus on collocation, and they involve guessing and, again, listening to check their answers. The 6th activity is related to the 4th and 5th activities, so it's a kind of synthesis of these two activities, and it kind of helps students to reuse what they have already covered. The next part is the reading part. The first activity is supposed to be the warm-up part, but I believe it requires some adaptation. The question, as you can see, is a little bit too general and lacks guidance. Remember how important it is to prepare students for the coming task. Okay, scaffolding, remember, that is very, very important. Now, the question, how often do you do sports and where do you do them, is really too general. It's not going to help the students to activate their schemata. Then a dialogue is given. Now, there is also a scanning question. That is a pretty good activity. However, I do not believe that read and listen is a relevant instruction here. This is a reading text. There's no need for listening, not for this activity anyways. Okay? Now, I do understand the coursebook writer's aim. Maybe they want to show or model the pronunciation of these sentences, clauses, phrases, whatever, but still, if this is a reading activity, it is a reading activity. There's no need to listen to it. The next activity is another scanning activity based on the same dialogue, where students are expected to fill out a form. Okay? I like this activity very much. The following one is for personalizing what has been taught so far. And it is a speaking activity which requires pair or small group work, although that has not been mentioned in the instruction. I strongly believe that the instruction needs to be rewritten or paraphrased by the teacher to create pair work or small group work. Then comes the listening part with a warm-up activity of its own. Well, is it really necessary? I mean, so far you have had several different warm-up activities and other activities related to sports. So any activity can be a pre-activity if it is relevant, of course, to a coming one. So you can easily skip this one, I guess. Students have been dealing with sports for some time now, and the activity itself, as you can see, is quite similar to the previous warm-up activities. It doesn't bring anything new to the classroom. The post-activity is a categorization activity. It is a pretty good one because it recycles the newly learned words. And it also gives students a chance to think about whether these are indoor sports, outdoor sports, team or individual sports. Then comes the speaking part. However, this part brings in more words that are not listed in the syllabus. And some of these words, I really don't know whether the students can use them or not. Are they useful? Now, you know, corpus studies, we need to check whether these words are very commonly used or not, whether they are frequently used vocabulary items in the natural, actual language or not. Okay, the next activity is a kind of interview. The activity itself is pretty good, but the instructions have not been given clearly. First of all, there is a mistake here. It says ask a question, and it says to someone. As you all know, it is ask a question of someone. That is the correct form of it. Now, when you are using language orally, it's always normal to make mistakes. But if it is in a course book, then it becomes very dangerous because it is permanent, it is there, and students see it all the time. So as a teacher, you need to be alert. You need to see, locate these mistakes, and immediately correct them. Maybe on the board, writing it and saying, most probably it is a typing mistake. It is a typo. Let's correct it together. Okay? Because course books, individuals are allowed to make mistakes. Course books are not. Okay? Second of all, related to this instruction, there's no clarity. Maybe the instruction can have steps, smaller steps. 1, complete the table for yourself. 2, then walk around, ask these questions of at least 3 friends and fill in the table. I personally believe that we need to leave the teacher out of this because I cannot imagine a teacher trying to control the activity, the students, manage the classroom situation while trying to answer all of the students coming and asking the same questions. That will keep the teacher very busy. I mean, the teacher will be 1, very tired, 2, really bored giving the same answers to, 20, 25, 30 people. Well, then we have another reading part. The warm-up activity is again too general and lacks the necessary guidance. Do you know any successful players or athletes? Why are they successful? Oh my God. You need to have warm-up activities for this warm-up activity, right? So maybe I will skip the first activity and ask the students to look at the photos in the coursebook and the names of the athletes and ask them if they know these athletes and what sports branch they are involved in. Well, there are visuals to help the students, okay? Then I can ask them to read the paragraphs about these athletes and ask the students to check their answers. Then I can move on to the following activities, which are all kind of scanning activities. Well, I can skip the last activity as it does not cover any outcomes mentioned in the syllabus. Or I may decide to replace it with a kind of a maybe fill in the blanks activity where students practice the use of frequency adverbs more. Like maybe, how often do successful athletes do these? Choose the correct answer. Okay, so successful athletes blank lose their motivation. The choices are never, sometimes, often, usually, always. Well, there's no one correct answer. Students may say successful athletes sometimes lose their motivation. That is not a wrong answer. It is a correct answer. They may also say they never lose their motivation. That is also another correct answer. So when you design an activity like this, you need to be open to the possible answers, and you can always discuss the answers. Okay, if they sometimes lose their motivation, what do they do? That kind of thing. Elaborate using the same activity, because our aim is not to help students to fill in the blanks. Our aim is to help students to understand how they can talk about the frequency of actions, events. The next part is writing. First, students complete the missing parts in the text. Then, using the text as a model, they write their own paragraph. It is an okay activity. With writing, students usually need a model because it's not always easy, to write something, especially when the time is limited. Then comes a quiz as a wrap-up activity, which is followed by a listening to help students to check their answers and score themselves. It is a pretty good one because self-checking comes as an option here, okay? The unit ends with a project work which covers the assignment in the syllabus. Well, another correction is needed here. Do a project is more preferable than make a project. So we need to be careful with these, right? Remember, oral mistakes are okay, but when it is in a course book, it needs to be corrected. Finally, I can say that in line with the Common European Framework of Reference of Languages principles, students are given a short checklist to assess themselves. Okay? I like this one very much because self-assessment is very, very important if you want your students to become responsible learners, to become lifelong learners. However, we need to rewrite the first item because the first item uses frequency adverbs, which is a kind of a meta language, which is a kind of a jargon for language teachers. So I think we can rewrite it as understand speech on the frequency of events and actions. Frequency of events and actions, not frequency adverbs. All in all, the unit meets all the objectives mentioned in the syllabus. However, as the teacher, you need to be careful as it has some mistakes. They need to be corrected. It introduces more words than necessary. Are these words really very frequently, commonly used words? Do you really want to introduce them? Its warm-up activities do not provide the learner with the necessary scaffolding. They do not prepare students to do the coming activity, and they often overlap. Some words such as injury, spectator, achieve, etc. are not mentioned at all or mentioned only one in the unit, but they are given in the syllabus. So you may want to add activities to cover them as well. You know your students better than the authors, writers do. If you feel that they need more help, bring extra visuals or extra activities, tasks, but do not overload the students. The syllabus, pay attention, only mentions never, sometimes, often, usually, always. Do not try to teach other frequency adverbs such as seldom, rarely. Wonderful, I can give all the list. No, they are not covered as teaching objectives. If necessary, if your students ask for these, you can mention them, but you don't aim to teach, okay? Again, remember, do not overload the students. Do not give more than what the syllabus aims at. Well, that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos. Bye-bye.